Hello everyone, Topher here. So the following is going to be a conversation that I had with Tony Hu. Tony is a prominent expert here in Taiwan. He's a former U.S. Air Force officer and the former Senior Director for China, Taiwan, Mongolia in the U.S. Secretary of Defense in the Pentagon. He's also a retired Raytheon executive. So Tony is one of the few people on the planet who has an enormous amount of experience with China, U.S., Taiwan war games. He's also an expert in air defense systems and other missile systems. This is why I asked Tony to have a conversation with me, because his expertise in Department of Defense war games, secret war games, is really crucial for understanding how civilian war games are played out. And especially how the press, the media, they often get the wrong message when it comes to reporting on these war games. So we talk extensively about that, and we also touch on how the more realistic events that would unfold in a China-Taiwan-US conflict. But before we get to that, I have to quickly thank our sponsor, Surfshark VPN. Surfshark VPN has been a great friend to the channel, and I'm happy talking about them because I use their service every day. Having a good VPN is essential for internet security, and Surfshark VPN is world-class. VPNs keep your private information safe and your web browsing history private. If you scan the QR code on screen or you go to the link in the comments, surfshark.com/uncletopher, then you can get a great discount. When you sign up for 2 years of service, you can get an additional 4 months. But besides security, Surfshark VPN is very useful for entertainment. You see, VPNs allow you to connect to countries all over the world. And this allows you to watch TV shows and YouTube videos that otherwise aren't available in your home country. For example, in one of my members-only videos, I react to a documentary about Taiwan's elite frogmen training. And the YouTube video that I react to actually isn't available in Taiwan. So all I had to do was connect my Surfshark VPN to another country, in this case Australia, and I was able to watch the video with no problem. So if you use a streaming service like Netflix, then you can actually watch shows and movies that are only available in other countries. Surfshark VPN not only gives you great internet security, but it increases all your options for your streaming services, Netflix, Disney+, even YouTube. I have Surfshark on everything I own that connects to the internet. My phone, my computer, my TV, my tablet, everything. It's easy because with just one account, you can get Surfshark VPN on unlimited devices. It's extremely affordable. If you sign up for 2 years, then the monthly cost is about the same as a cup of coffee. So if you're interested, please scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the comments, surfshark.com/uncletopher. You get an additional 4 months of service, which makes 28 months of service at a very affordable price. It's a very small cost for internet safety and to get the most out of all your online entertainment. So thanks again, Surfshark, for your support. And without further ado, let's look at the conversation I had with Tony. Thank you. Wow, what a cool venue.
Yeah, this will work.
This will work. Tony.
How are you? Long time no see.
Thanks a lot for coming on the channel, man. You're my first guest.
Yay.
I really appreciate it.
I'm honored. Thank you.
So today we're talking about, what's the best way to say it? Misinformation?
Yeah, cognitive warfare.
Yes. Yes.
From China.
It's an ongoing battle. And specifically, there was a war game that happened. It was a civilian war game between the Center for Strategic
and International
Studies, CSIS, which is kind of like a nonprofit policy think tank in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And they collaborated with MIT, which is a university in the U.S. And they did a war game which included scenarios involving U.S. and China conflict over Taiwan, over a Chinese invasion of Taiwan, specifically focusing on what if nuclear weapons were used.
Mm-hmm.
And the media got a hold of the report, and I don't think they did a very good job reporting on it. I don't think you think they did a very
No,
good job of
no,
reporting
no.
on it. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I think it's important to understand CSIS done a big war game last year. And same thing, a lot of the media, especially pro-China media, made a big deal out of it, trying to insinuate that United States cannot help Taiwan
Yeah.
in a war scenario. And this time they did it again. So, oh, you ran it 15 times, American only won 5 times. And they didn't say, well, depending on the scenario, everything, every war game, the end game, the result depends on the assumption and the scenario. So whether it's valid or not, we can talk more about that.
Sure. Well, I think it's good to talk about the nature of these war games in general because many people have probably, most people watching this have probably never played a war game. And they come in different varieties. But the way that these think tank groups do it, it's like a tabletop map, basically.
Right.
And they have like probability tables.
Probability tables, and each force, they assign a value.
Right.
For each force. What does this value come from? From open source, unclassified data.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the main difference I want to point out. As they run these war games, all they have access to are unclassified open source data. And they don't know the war plan.
Right.
So when they execute these defenses, it is not based on a fully developed, thought over war plan that United States have.
Right.
So all this assumption have that shortfall.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And therefore, actually, many of these war games actually is funded by Department of Defense.
Yeah.
They use it to validate some of the things that we do in classified war games, because what you don't want to have is a blind spot.
Yeah, and people from different backgrounds and different professions, they can offer unique perspectives.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that might not be like apparently obvious to someone who's been in the military their entire life.
Right, and it has happened when I was in the military, where we ran, actually this involves a Taiwan scenario, we ran the war game, and then we have, at that time we invited RAND Corporation, is another think tank, who conduct a similar war game, and their thought process brought up a civil military issue related with the civilian government structure and how our activity might make it difficult for them to recover toward the end game. So, wow, great. You know, that's why we pay think tank to do things. But the real war game that we try to make our decision and also make our changes to our strategy, our system, are those classified war games.
Yes, yes. And those have a variety. I mean, a lot of those are computerized.
Right.
It's not just,
So,
a tabletop map.
It should not be any surprise to anybody that United States military would do not disclose our real capability.
Yeah.
That'd be foolish.
The reports of those Department of Defense war games are a secret.
Right, they're secret, and when we run the war game, we use full capability.
Yeah.
Everything that we actually have that's not in the open space.
Right.
Also, we have classified assessment of the enemy's capability.
Yes.
Okay,
which
from
is very
spies
important,
and things. Then we add a element, elevate their capability, because we never want to be surprised by underestimate the enemy. So this is another reason.
That's a very good point. That in many of war games, both on the civilian and the Department of Defense ones, the U.S. is often placed on a handicap.
We always actually
overestimate.
It's standard that we play on handicap.
Yeah.
So in a classified war game, when we use our full capability, we run this war game, especially related to Taiwan, several times a year in the Pentagon, and also, most importantly, in Indo-Pacific Command.
Right.
That exercise, that big exercise that they run, There's one that's really the biggest once a year, and there are little ones where our commanders from U.S. Forces Japan, U.S. Forces Korea, U.S. Forces Marianas, for example, they will all pipe in. And all the forces, we would do the simulation portion at Hawaii. I play a role, and everybody play a role. The forces actually do what they're supposed to do based on their war requirement, but they don't fly to the Pacific. They will have tankers and do certain things, long distance flight in Alaska, in different areas. They actually get deployed.
Yeah.
So we want to simulate where we can do the real thing. They do the real thing.
Yeah.
Then the computer runs. In the end, based on the decision makers' move, they run it. And second morning, come in a scenario. Usually by the third day, the result is pretty much, you're gonna win at this point. Yeah. But then that's the day when the control team comes in with something new.
Oh, okay.
You just lost all your comm satellite, and what do you do?
Yeah, they throw what we call a wrench into the works.
Exactly,
right?
Because they know you learn nothing if you win. You learn nothing if you win every time.
Yeah.
So we lose a lot of times because, for example, one year, China launched an anti-satellite missile and knocked out one of their satellites, 2018 or something. Right. No, 2008. Yeah, anyways, the game that year, sure enough, on the third day, somehow China killed all of our satellites.
Yeah, somehow.
Impossible. Just play the game.
But what happens? That's why, the U.S. goes on even beyond worst case.
Yeah, so what that game came out was we had to develop a system that can continue our comm link, our intelligence link. So there are systems now. There are systems that if your satellite gets out, we have systems that can do regional comm link, then use other ways, line of sight to link up. That system was developed because during the war game, we say, wow, if China was able to knock out all the comm satellites, what do you do?
Low orbit aircraft and whatnot.
That's exactly right.
And that's a big point of why I even wanted to make this video, is because oftentimes the media will see the reports of these war games and they will cherry pick out the most sensationalized headline that they possibly can without really diving into the actual war game report itself. Or not even understanding that, U.S. lost 5 times when they were at a severe handicap.
Yeah, they don't, and we don't know what was the scenario. Right, and the assumption, because the assumption and the scenario determines the outcome. Truly. So that's the important point that they never bring out, but yet they cherry pick. United States cannot protect Taiwan.
Yeah.
That is not true.
With this particular one, like I said, it had a lot to do with nuclear weapons, and I read a lot of the articles that reported on it in the news, and one of the things that the news loves to do is report on itself. So one person will write an article, and then they'll just kind of copy paste the article. And a big headline was that nuclear buildup would not deter China.
Yeah.
Which is probably the least interesting takeaway from that war game, because the U.S. has no expressed interest
to build up
its nuclear arms. They had more than enough.
Yeah, it's a waste of sentence.
Yeah.
And the fact that through many different assessments, pretty much U.S. side has determined, at least when I was in the government, that the likelihood of China using nuclear weapon against Taiwan is 0, because they have always said the people in Taiwan is a compatriot.
Yes.
Part of the Chinese race. And can you imagine the party chairman try to explain why he killed millions of the compatriots on Taiwan? And lay Taiwan into a wasteland because the nuclear fallout, the radiation will cause the land to be not usable for 50 to 100 years. So depends on what kind of bomb they use and what altitude they explode. So this is very unlikely. China would only use nuclear weapon against the United States if necessary, if party survival is at stake. That's what was assessed many years ago. When the party chairman sees his own survival is at stake, he might first threaten that maybe launch one or two. Of course, that would be a serious mistake because U.S. nuclear posture decision making is if you use nuclear weapon against the United States, you can be assured you will be retaliated with nuclear weapon.
Which is why the Cold War never escalated to.
That's the basic MAD, mutual assured destruction strategy, and it continues.
So there are different nukes that were addressed in this exercise, and it was just like hypothesis that China could develop these. One of these are the tactical nukes, which are small yield, I guess.
Same effect. You lay a certain area. One tactical nuke can take out majority of Taipei.
Yeah, the idea is to use it on a battlefield and not on a city.
Right.
I mean, of course, if a tactical nuke was launched in a city, it would have devastating effect.
Nuclear weapons should never be used.
Oh, I agree.
There is no control. I don't know if audience know, I was a nuclear officer, Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Minuteman, Yi Yongbing. I was the combat group commander. And we study the effect because you have to decide ground burst, air burst, depends on the area you want to cover and the target that you want to cover. And so knowing that, nuclear weapons should never be used. It's devastating. Its impact is, you measure by 50, 100 years.
Yeah.
You know,
One of the methods that they used in this war game, which I think has been done, but it's more of a hypothesis, is the HEMP, the HEMP, the high altitude electromagnetic pulse.
Yeah.
And this is, well, I'm sure you can explain much better than I can.
Electromagnetic pulse supposed to knock out the electronics, and all of our major systems are EMP proof. If it's not EMP proof, United States government will not even buy it. So
this is the idea that a nuclear warhead is launched basically in like low orbit.
Right.
So that the heat doesn't kill anybody, but the target is actually an EMP blast to disable like an oncoming fleet or a city or something.
Knock out your electronics, knock out your radars, radios, anything that's electronics supposed to burn up. But the military systems it's one of the major requirements is protection from EMP. All of our systems are EMP proof. So in this war game, I don't know if they consider that.
I think that they overestimated how effective
the EMP is
EMP pulse.
The systems that Taiwan buy from the U.S., they're EMP proof.
Yeah, well, not only, so like lightning strikes can cause an EMP, right? So it's not just military systems, but many systems have a chance, some better than others, but it's not a definite thing that the electronics are going to be knocked out.
Yeah, your TV and radio will be knocked out. Okay, your cell phone probably will get knocked out.
Maybe because one of the, it depends on how powerful it is.
True.
Even just the rebar within a building
can reduce it.
Yeah, it can reduce it.
If the building's grounded.
Yeah, if the building's grounded, and if it's a big building, it has a lot of rebar in it.
And already have the anti thunder lightning.
Yeah.
If they have that structure,
lightning rod.
If they already have that structure, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
So these types of just everyday systems, even just like a steel box or whatever, that acts as what's called a Faraday cage. And this is a great defense against EMPs.
Yeah, just put it over your thing, and
So certainly any military hardware that they buy from the U.S. is not going to be affected by
It's not going to be affected.
Him. And I don't think they accounted for this in the war game.
No, that's why I'm thinking EMP, then you knock out systems. No, they will survive. You know?
Yeah. Most would survive.
Yeah, most military system will survive. You can't just remove it and say, okay, now the EMT has scared you to the point where you have to surrender.
No, not at all.
It doesn't happen.
Not at all.
So I think what Topher and I really want to make sure everybody understand is, don't take this media report of civilian war game with so much importance, because they're not. They do not reflect true status. That is why if you go find interviews of the Indo-Pacific Command commander, Admiral Paparo, when people ask, can you defend Taiwan? Yes. You know why? Because that one big war game, he's the head guy.
Yeah.
He's the number one guy. He's in charge of defending this entire region, including Taiwan. In war, there are 5 phases. Okay, phase 0 is shaping the environment. That means you make friends.
Yeah.
You find locations you can use. You put stuff there early. Okay, shaping. Phase 1 is when the enemy start doing something. You start to implement your war plan, deter. Phase 1 is deter. 吓阻. That's when you move forward your troops. Say, don't do the bad thing because I am ready, I'm coming, okay? Phase 2, you start fighting, okay?
Yeah.
So during phase 2, because United States is expeditionary, we'll go to bad guys' home to fight. So bad guys have the advantage of range. So phase 2, usually U.S. forces in the region all it needs to do is hold.
Buy time.
Phase 3 is dominate, because our forces from the United States, from Europe, from other areas, our allies are all there. Then when we dominate, we're going to win. Phase 5, you're coming down now. You're knocking out those pocket resistance.
Yeah.
You already pretty much won, but it's impossible everybody stop. So you want to knock out those pocket resistance, okay? And transition to civilian.
Yeah. Phase 5 and phase 0 are the longest phases.
Right. So phase 5, you transition and you go back to phase 0 because it becomes peace again. Yeah. So this is how United States see, because we're expeditionary. We don't say we're going, we overwhelm, dominate, and win. For a scenario in Taiwan, it's going to be the Pacific in-place forces going to hold.
Yeah.
Then our allied forces and U.S. sustainment forces come in. We're going to dominate and win. Then we transition back to peace. Okay? So that's the realistic scenario. And this is what United States is pretty certain we can do. Okay? China might have the initial advantage, undoubtedly, but they're going to lose.
I don't think that Russia would be a big help. I don't think that North Korea could do much, because if they do anything, they open themselves up for South Korea.
They're worried about South Korea,
Yeah.
right? They're not going to do much move at all.
Yeah.
Even though right now, because they think South Korea is stable, so they're sending men and missiles and stuff to Russia. But in a war closer to home, like in China, I think North Korea is going to be a little bit wary about whether they actually, because they're going to see after the first week or so that China's losing initiative. And they're going to be very worried about stepping into a loser.
Oh, yeah. And, they would open themselves up for border conflicts with India, Fifth Element in like Tibet, Southern Mongolia, Xinjiang province, Hong Kong. They would start to get active. There's just not... China does have some things in its favor. Its size, the sheer size and the proximity to Taiwan.
Yeah,
that's really it.
That's its biggest advantage, is that China is here.
Yeah.
It's already here now. Help for Taiwan has to come in. But the disadvantage is you got to cross Taiwan Strait.
Yeah, that's big.
know,
I mean,
that-
launching missiles, that's one thing, but putting troops on the ground
Yeah,
is
feet on the
completely
ground,
else.
it's impossible.
Yeah,
I
it's-
don't see it.
It's not like Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah,
You know,
just
a lot of
crush.
people like to make those comparisons. I see these in my comments all the time. You have to understand that Russia used a lot of artillery against Ukraine. And if you don't know the difference between artillery and a missile, artillery has typically a much shorter range.
yeah.
I mean, smaller payload, but much shorter range.
They try to say China has all this, about almost 2,000 missiles that they can launch. And I mentioned this before. You need to look at how many launcher they have because the missiles on vehicle, how many vehicles they have. Right now they have like 600 something, almost 650.
Yeah.
So the first wave, 650 missiles. And then how accurate are they? Because these missiles, if they're gonna hit a rice field, you let it hit the rice field. Don't waste a Patriot or a TK3 to intercept those missiles because the missile defense system can calculate impact point.
Yeah.
Once they come up, it's detected, they can calculate impact point, and it's automatic. They will say, okay, we don't intercept this one. We don't waste the missile, intercept this one because it's gonna fall into a rice field, a fish pond, just let it fall.
For every rocket missile, cruise missile that China has that launches at Taiwan, that's one less that they can't launch at the US or Japan or Australia
Yeah.
or France or the UK. You know, Taiwan is not out there to destroy mainland China.
No.
The US will absolutely destroy infrastructure and high value
Right.
targets in mainland China.
Especially the ones that they use against Taiwan.
Yeah.
Those will be target number one. Those missile sites, those ports, the military ports that they have stockpile things to supply any troops that have feet on the ground, they need stuff. All those will be destroyed in the
Right.
very first day. I don't have classified information now. I don't know the target sets now. But in previous war games, obviously those are just by logic. It's nothing classified. Logic, those are the places we're going to hit so they cannot sustain a war.
Yeah. And the US has missile systems right now in Guam, in the Philippines that can target
Yeah.
all of those
And
markers.
Japan too.
And Japan,
Yeah.
yeah. And it would not be a giant surprise that would have time to prepare for the air defenses because satellite data and even just human intelligence would be able to recognize that the rocket force
Something's starting.
is mobilizing
Yeah.
all of their rocket
Yeah,
launchers.
we actually expect 30 days because if China wants to attack Taiwan, they have to do a quick strike before foreign help can arrive.
Yeah.
So if they want to accomplish this quick strike, fait accompli type thing, they need massive forces.
Oh, yeah.
Massive support. So you can see this. Yeah, you can't have such massive force for your successful invasion without being discovered. Obviously, this has been said again and again. China will say this is an exercise, just like Russian did with the Ukraine.
right.
Oh, it's an exercise. We're doing exercise with Belarus. But then at a certain point, we know they're gonna attack. So, strategic warning. Strategic warning, we expect 30 days or more. Tactical warning, 7 days. Strategic warning will have 60 to 70% confidence level
Right,
that they're gonna have a war. Tactical warning with 90% or more.
right.
They're gonna start a war.
There's all sorts of signs that countries is planning to enter an armed conflict, and some of those are similar to when they expect their economy to start failing. So with China, we're like, which one is it? Like hoarding gold, stockpiling huge grain
It's indication.
reserves, stuff like that.
Yeah, especially Xi Jinping's relatives start to hold,
Right.
buying gold.
But one thing that China has not done yet, which is an indicator, is a huge blood drive.
Right.
right? So if you start to see like a big state-driven blood bank drive,
Yeah, they're about to start a war.
Why are we doing that?
They're about to start a war.
Why are we starting to open up field hospitals all along the coast, stuff like that?
Yeah.
That's significant. Like
It's a big indication.
Yeah,
That's something we look at seriously when they start doing that. Yeah, if you have exercise, you don't need a lot of rounds of cannon, but you're shipping tens of thousands rounds of cannon. You're not doing an exercise. You're doing invasion.
Yeah, something's up.
Yeah.
I'd like to circle quickly back around to Admiral Paparo. Did I say his name right?
Yeah, Paparo.
Paparo. Almost sounds like papaya. Admiral Paparo. So he was asked if the U.S. could defend Taiwan if China did attack, and he didn't hesitate in his
He didn't
answer.
hesitate. He knows the war game results year after year.
And his loose quote here is that he wants to turn the Taiwan Strait into an unmanned hellscape. Using classified capabilities, quote, so I can make their lives miserable for a month, which buys me time for the rest of everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are capabilities that we don't know about, and stuff that when I was still have access to the information that was starting to develop, I suspect they're all mature now. Recently, a U.S. destroyer was accompanied by a survey ship through Taiwan Strait. Instead of the 4-hour transit, it took almost 3 days. Okay, everybody's looking at the destroyer, but the survey ship is actually the star.
Yeah.
It's getting Taiwan Strait. Submarine can't open the window and say, hey, So they need to know
they have a detailed
underwater,
map.
right?
Okay.
Maybe some ship have sunk. Now it's an obstacle,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
There's also traps that could have been laid.
right, the fisherman's net that they discarded is over
Yeah.
there. So you need to have a very detailed, accurate digital map to put into the submarine so that as they sail through, unmanned submarines. Manned submarines wouldn't come here, it's too dangerous too. So there are capabilities that I probably shouldn't.
Well,
they're sensitive technologies,
we can hypothesize.
Yeah,
because we don't really know.
Right, just in case we have some unmanned submarine capabilities that have been disclosed. But those things need to have accurate maps.
So I read the report on that, the war game, the nuclear war game.
Yep.
And some, like you said, some of the media just reported it as, China went. China
U.S. only won it 5 times.
5 times. Well,
yeah.
So they did 15 games.
Yeah.
In 5 of those games, China did win. And some of those conditions were really absurd.
Yeah.
Like one of those conditions was in one of the games, just as an example. I'll leave a link to the report in the description if you want to read it. It's over 100 pages, so you can skip to the end of the report. But one of their wins was they nuked Honolulu, Hawaii, destroyed it, and this U.S. team gave up.
Got scared.
Gave up.
They got scared. They saw a no win for some reason.
Yeah.
They just gave up.
And that is absurd.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
I mean, the last country that attacked Hawaii, it didn't end up very well. It didn't work out for them.
You can't nuke Hawaii.
No.
Let me tell you, the defense system in Hawaii, it'll be knocked down.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
First off, it would be the chances of it actually landing is very, very slim.
And another thing I want to let you, just because, based on my previous knowledge about nuclear war plan, if you use nuclear weapon against the United States, you can be assured a nuclear response.
Oh yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
And once the missile come up, our satellite determines it's striking U.S. territory, including Hawaii. Before it hits apogee, the missile from the United States is already flying over. A nuclear missile is already retaliating. We're not going to wait for this guy to explode. In the meantime, the ground-based defense, including SM-3 on our Aegis anti-missile system, is going up. As they reach this point, missile boost is this phase. This is boost phase. But when you get to this point, the booster had ran out. This is the slowest point. When you hit apogee, it's the slowest point, easiest to kill. And we have THAAD, we have SM-3, and of course Alaska ground-based ground-based interceptor will go up there, knock it out in mid-course. Okay. After, if for some reason if it misses, if it's a single missile, it's easy to intercept. As it come down, they will have Patriots and THAAD will engage in terminal phase. Okay. So the probability of it hitting Hawaii is low, but the probability of this darn thing hitting China is 100%.
Well, and the probability of the U.S. just surrendering after Honolulu gets destroyed is zero.
And whatever base that launched from, because we can see launch point, a nuclear missile is on its way.
Yeah, it's coming back.
Because United States can justify. You launched a nuclear weapon against United States territory from this point, we're going to destroy it with the nuclear weapon totally. So China should know this. I mean, this should not be a surprise to China because U.S. nuclear policy, nuclear posture is open source.
Yeah.
Okay. We have not ruled out first strike, first of all, and we have assured if you use nuclear weapon against United States will use nuclear weapon against you. So China knows this.
Mutually assured destruction.
Yeah.
Which was the result of some of the games.
I know, that was ridiculous, wasn't that?
Like three of them, it did, yeah.
I look at this.
Mutually assured, like, wow, that escalated.
That's...
the headlines could have also said that China lost 7 of the games, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Right? Because they either they flat out lost or it stayed like status quo.
Yeah, they went back to status quo. That's basically a loss because you didn't take over Taiwan.
Yeah. And in 10 out of the 15 games, the nukes were used. And 9 out of those 10 times, China was the first use.
First to use,
Yeah. Some of those times they were the high altitude.
Yeah, EMP.
But only 4 of those 10 resulted in like civilian targets being hit.
See, that's another foolish thing because how do we know China is going to do airburst EMP only and not hit the ground?
Yeah. You don't know. You don't know. You just know that a missile has been launched.
A nuclear-tipped missile has been launched.
Yeah.
We are hitting you.
Yeah.
You know?
Expect a response.
We don't wait until explosion has happened. That's stupid.
And going back to what you initially said about how China is not going to nuke its own people and it considers Taiwan its own people, well, that was the same opinion that several of the experts in the war games, the Chinese experts in those games where nukes weren't used, China didn't initiate nukes, was because, hey, we're not going to nuke our own people. I mean, that's the equivalent of the U.S. nuking Hawaii or Puerto Rico or Guam.
Yeah, the party chairman, the Communist Party chairman will lose his legitimacy if he kills millions of Chinese people.
Yes.
You know,
so, I mean, there's a political struggle within China. We probably don't hear 99% of it, but it exists. There's a political struggle in every country. Dictatorships are not immune to it. Giving any sort of reason to, what's the right word, delegitimize your authority, someone's going to jump on that and use the excuse to
knock you out.
Yeah, put you on trial at best.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of headlines that they could have taken away from that report that they didn't. Instead, you can see the type of spin that's used to send a message, which just honestly is cherry picked out and isn't
deliberate.
That accurate. Yeah.
It's deliberate.
Yeah.
Yeah, because China has many media that's under their influence here in Taiwan. Those pro-China media in Taiwan serves one master in China. And and I think, unfortunately, they have been successful in infiltrating even into Taiwan's legislative realm, 立法院, because some of the members seems to be taking on a PRC position on different issues and like reducing the defense budget. Why? Why would anybody do that when U.S. president just come on and say everybody should increase defense budget if you want my help? So it was in the same time these legislators cutting defense budget, maybe deliberately try to get U.S. administration to say, okay, Taiwan, you're not helping yourself. I don't want to help you. Good thing is most of the advisors around our president are smarter than that. And obviously, I think KMT is in Washington to explain what's going on. But when you look at that, look at the timing of it, and look at what they're doing, it makes you wonder, are they really hoping to help Taiwan survive, or trying to make Taiwan become so weak that the only way to survive is surrender? So
yeah, that's my biggest concern, actually. I'm not all that concerned at all about a Chinese attack. I'm much more concerned about
me too.
Coercion, propaganda, turning public opinion the wrong way.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The threat of Chinese attack winning is actually very low. No matter what some of these 2-3 stations keep on saying, no.
I mean, even in this war game, the whole reason the Chinese decided to use nuclear weapons is because they lost the conventional
They can't
war.
win, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's important for everybody to keep in mind, the ones that watch Topher's channel, that a successful invasion of Taiwan, the probability is so low that I will almost put it at 0.
Yeah.
Based on the things that I have been involved in, based on what is happening now, and based on the coalition building that is successful around this region, a successful invasion is 0. But will there be damage? They will be damaged.
Obviously,
And that's what we want to prevent. That's what deterrence, Hezu, is hoping to prevent, even the firing of one shot, so that nothing gets damaged. Okay, no lives lost.
And the stronger Taiwan is, the better it can defend itself, the stronger that deterrence is.
Exactly. The stronger you are, the less likely there will be a war. And this is a philosophy, a logic that has withstood the test of time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, again and again, it's the weak one that think being weak, they can avoid war. I won't piss you off. But there are people, aggressors, dictators like Putin, that if you're weak, I'm coming in. Thank you for the gift. So we should never take that for granted. A weak country is dangerous, even if you want to negotiate with the other side. You have to be in a position of strength. You have to be strong so that there can be equal negotiation.
Yeah.
Yeah, peace through strength is still
Peace through strength.
Yeah, 和平经过实力. I think that's how the Chinese words are used. It is true. It is true. Peace through strength.
Yeah.
It has, through the history, it has proven to be the most effective way to maintain peace. The reason they're increasing this cognitive warfare is because they also realize they can't win.
Yeah, they know.
So
they've done their own war games.
The more money they invest in this propaganda, in the pro-China media, trying to convince Taiwan you can't win, it's because they too know they can't win. They have to win through the minds of the people here in Taiwan, not through a physical conflict.
Do you have anything else you wanted to add? Or?
No, I enjoyed this. This is your first person one-on-one interview, huh?
That's what I've done so far.
Cool.
Thanks a lot, Tony. I really, really appreciate it. Hey, thanks a lot for watching. If you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing. Share this video to anyone you know who might be nervous about news of China being an aggressive force against Taiwan. It's almost always overblown news. Peace.
Peace.
Love. We'll see you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.